is a special edition of the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, except Clay's not here because I called up my good buddy Bill Bender. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news, of course. It's not breaking anymore, but Sherrone Moore has been relieved of his duties as the head football coach at University of Michigan with cause. And we had just finished putting the finishing touches on our Wednesday podcast, Bill. Clay Hall and I had, and he had to get out of town. But I thought I'd give you a call because you and I have good rapport. And number two, you know a thing or 50 about the major college football scene, as I like to say, across the nation and around the world. But first reaction, Bill Bender, of the sporting news when you heard got confirmation, let's put it that way, on the news that Sherrone Moore had been relieved of his duties with cause by the University of Michigan.
There were message board rumblings last week that you kind of do not. I know you probably saw them too, and you were kind of like, "Well, we'll believe it when we see it." But it sounds like another scandal for the University of Michigan and Sherrone Moore. And to be honest, Tim, after Ohio State beat them, you kind of got the feeling that this was going to happen in 2 years anyway. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. Obviously, the details around that there was credible evidence that he had a inappropriate relationship, is the way Michigan put it. And and if that was the case and they dismissed him, I mean, this isn't the first time that's happened to a major college football program, but
not the first time it's happened to a major college football program in the state of Michigan in the last couple of years. Go ahead now.
I was going to say that. Yeah. I mean, Mel Tucker, the same thing happened there. So in a different, more, we don't have to get into it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
But it's a very strange story, obviously, for Sherrone, and a very unceremonious exit. But I also think, in some ways, this allows Michigan to break completely away from the Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions, Sherrone Moore. And this is why I'll make one prediction. I don't think they hired Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter has 1 year show cause. I think it's time for them to break completely away from that era. Now, the interesting part is who you're going to go get, because we are super late in the cycle. The guy that would have fit there just took the job at Penn State.
Yes. Matt Campbell was rumored to be a candidate for almost every really nice job in the Midwest for 10 years now, almost since he first got to Iowa State. But it is crazy. I want to throw this name out at you because, like you said, by the time the people are listening to this, it's the news is old news. But about Sherrone Moore, I'm telling you, a guy I think would really fit there, and please don't laugh at me if you don't think, I believe, is Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly cut his teeth in the state of Michigan being a head coach. And not that you have to be a Michigan man or from the Michigan Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, to be considered for the job. But I just think that's almost this is almost a moment in time, because I really truly believe he would do a hell of a job there. He did a hell of a job at Notre Dame. The LSU thing, everybody has a fit that's not right? But I think him in Michigan would be a major league fit. What's your take on that?
We just posted, on by the time we run this, it'll be up, and you can see who we think those Michigan candidates are. I think he is the number 2 name. The first name that's going to pop up is Kalen DeBoer.
Yes.
And that would be their home run. I don't know. I feel like Kalen DeBoer is the Brian Kelly version of LSU at Alabama. And had they not made the playoff, that would have been easier to do. He's going to have to deny interest in this job as well. Brian Kelly would be the next name. And then you get into names that it's like, yeah, that's fun to say out loud, but I don't think like Lincoln Riley would come to Michigan, Jed Fish, PJ Fleck. Those aren't like the type of names that I would think. So I think your first 2 options are Kalen DeBoer and Brian Kelly. And Tim, I'm going to throw 2 other names at you just to keep an eye on.
All right.
One, Kenny Dillingham. Young,
okay.
Be a little bit of a risk because he's young, and this is a big step from Arizona State. And here's the one: if everything swing and miss, and you miss on some of these guys, I would keep an eye on Dan Mullen outside of the Power 4. He's outside of the Power 4, won 10 games at UNLV, denied interest in the SEC and all these coaching hires. If he wants another Power 4 job, that might be the time. If it's not Dan Mullen, Tim, a name like Dan Mullen. somebody that they have to quote unquote settle for because we're this late in the game, like you said.
Let me ask you real quick though, Dan Mullen, because everybody gets into almost every coach at one place or another gets into a bad fit. You know what I mean? And I think, Florida and him didn't get along for whatever reason it ended up being, even though he'd been there as an assistant under Urban and stuff. I think Florida wears guys out, to be honest with you now. I mean, they wore Urban out when you think about it.
They wore Dan Mullen out. He was 34-15 there. He's
right.
I think he's a hell of a football coach.
I do too. I do too. And just because you're short with the media or whatever, sometimes that doesn't tell you that doesn't tell me whether or not you're a hell of a football coach. But I'm telling you, man, this Brian Kelly thing, I just think it makes too much sense. Maybe it won't happen because it makes too much sense. But he has, like I said, he has a claim in the game up there in the state of Michigan. Number one, number two. He needs a job, or maybe he doesn't need a job, right? Since he finally got at least most of his money from LSU. But yeah, the Dan Mullen thing, it interested me how he didn't become a serious candidate for the last several jobs that came open this year in a big explosion kind of way, or he wasn't interested. And and I think the only person that really knows that is him. But I agree with you. I mean, he would be a step into the modern world of football coaching too. Agreed?
Yeah. Brian Kelly, what Michigan needs to do is if they want to keep Bryce Underwood, is find a coach. And even if they don't keep Bryce Underwood, it doesn't, to me, it's immaterial, or whoever their next quarterback is.
Yeah.
Their offense, and I wrote about it at the Ohio State game, the difference between Ohio State and Michigan. And yes, Ohio State had better perimeter playmakers and all that. But Ryan Day knew how to use a 5-star quarterback, and Sherrone Moore didn't.
Yeah.
So whoever this next coach is, whether it's BK or I like the BK fit for all the reasons you mentioned, he for whatever reason, he has a cringy social media presence, but I don't think it would be as bad at Michigan. I think Ohio State fans would find it easy to not like him pretty quickly. Either way, they're going to find whoever the next coach is pretty easy not to like anyway. I think BK could do a nice job there.
Yeah, I think the next guy would have leaned on Dave Abloff a little bit more than maybe they do. He's one of the better SIDs out there, et cetera. And I'm just throwing his name out there because I've always liked him. And I've felt sorry for him the last many years of all the fires that were igniting throughout the building. And now we find out, boy, there were some real fire in the building there, some form fashion. Hey, Bill, real quick before you go, you can't name I don't know if you vote on the Heisman. I do. I think you probably do, but did they get the right 4? Let's put it that way.
I think so, right? I mean, you got some good fun. I would have added Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker for Texas Tech, who I had the opportunity to present the Nagurski Award to Monday. What an experience that was! He would have been the next guy, but between those guys, and I don't know who's going to win, but when you have, so it was Mendoza, Pavia, Love, and Sayin, right?
Yeah.
And how many Ohio State quarterbacks is this now that have been a finalist? It's
bridesmaids
run between Dwayne and Justin and CJ and now obviously Julian Sayin. That's an impressive track record right there. We're not allowed to talk about who we vote for.
And
either. But I can size up the debate this way. If I had to predict what's going to happen Saturday, I think it's going to be pretty tight between Mendoza and Pavia. I think Pavia is going to get a lot of votes from the South. I think Sayin and Love will probably be the next two, and you'll have a winner. But this is one of those Heisman races it was muddled. We talked about it a lot, you and I did, and that's what it's going to end up. So either one of those guys will win. It's a really tough one to call.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before you go, I mean, the way I looked at it, I explained to some people, I have no problem not telling you what my vote is until after it's over. I don't know why some people have a problem with that, but I just looked at it. It was Mendoza or Sayin coming out of the Big Ten championship game, and I would think, it's kind of like when you have a majority of votes in a state in a presidential election, then you get all the electoral votes. You know what I mean, kind of thing.
Right.
And I really think the guys that were going to vote for Pavia and the guys that were going to vote for Love were, for number one, we're going to stick with that no matter what, if you follow my draft. So I really think it was a fall off there after with the Mendoza Sayin thing, but it's good to see Sayin at least make the Final Four. That's the way I look at it. And who knows, if there's a big upset, there's an upset, right?
Yeah, you never know. And I mean, obviously Ohio State, and I can't share too much about this either, but we're starting to piece together our All-American team at Sporting News, and we're very proud of the fact that we're one of the 5 outlets that determines consensus All-Americans. And I can, spoiler alert, there'll probably be a couple of Ohio State guys on there. When you have a great season like they did, we're finalizing all that tomorrow. But and also at the Nagurski, I had a chance to chat very briefly with Caleb Downs on the stage. That was nice. He was one of the finalists for the award.
Yeah.
Didn't win it, but he won the Lott Trophy. And I think when the ESPN show, we have it on Friday, there's going to be some Buckeyes win some hardware. So it'll be a nice night for all those guys, no question. And they deserve it. Yeah. They deserve it, right? They've had a great season.
Yeah, you're not taking Bob Hope's place, are you now? I mean, are you becoming Bob Hope?
I still watch those videos. Well,
I do too, man.
I still watch his old videos. He had, you know what? I will say this one last thing. At the Nagurski ceremony, Adam Zucker is just a pro's pro at that. He was the MC. Just the way he has quick wit, kept the ceremony moving. He is one of the best voices in college football. I did want to say that. It was a lot of fun. And he just told me before I named the winner, he said, really lean into that microphone and say it out loud. So it was a good experience. Had to wear a tuxedo, got to talk to Brian Bosworth, the sheriff of Fansville. The boss, of course, you know him a little different. It was a great experience, Tim. And
I think
because I get to talk to you every week, and guys like
that's right.
That's why I got to do it.
By the way, I think Bosworth figured out NIL a long time before anybody else did. Hey, real quick, you're going to be on my podcast this coming week at some point when we're going to look at those the first round games, et cetera, and size up the college football field after the Heisman Trophy is awarded and a lot of these other things are awarded. Bill Bender, thanks for joining me on short notice, man, on this emergency version of the Tim May Show.
No days off. You know that. I'll talk to you next week, Tim.
You got it, my man.